Me okay? I'm very short.
I feel your pain.
Thanks. All right, my comment tonight is a simple and a straightforward one. I'd like to hear in sufficient detail why, without proper consultation with the local community and based off an inaccurate survey, we are even discussing a plan that will destroy local habitats, waste money on a project with less residential support than other key projects, and forever remove one more natural space in this ever-industrializing planet. I come to you tonight as a resident, over a decade, so long to some of you, a heartbeat to others, an epidemiologist, so yes, we can talk COVID later, a fur parent, and a mom. Roosevelt Island to me is so much more than a zip code, a main street, and a few parks. Roosevelt Island is my home. Every morning, every single morning, I walk through Southpoint Park. Sometimes I go through the park multiple times a day, once with my dog Tallulah and son Noel, and once by myself running. And what is the #1 reason why I return day after day? Simple, peace and tranquility. This park is where Noel first saw goslings and learned the essential lesson that we are all here together and to respect those in our community, animal or human, that are more vulnerable than ourselves. It is the closest bit of nature that we have left on this island, and once it is gone, it will be lost forever. Now, supporters of this off-island initiative development will highlight the unsafe nature of the fill, the crumbling seawall, and the benefit we, the community members, will receive from the newly manicured green space. The community consultation that is flagged includes an April 2017 meeting that I, as many others, attended. Their summary is incorrect. One of the main takeaways was not that we must redevelop and add access to the shoreline, but rather that we must ask residents if they want redevelopment at all. Upon rewriting and fielding the survey, even though they still receive less than 10% of community participation, the highest response among all the options was do nothing. Now, because of seawall deterioration, doing nothing may not be a feasible option. But I'd like to ask this committee why that opens the door to development proposal that will kill trees. And no, removing a tree and then planting another year later isn't the same thing as keeping that original tree, and will destroy habitat and waste money. So please, let's learn from projects like Jefferson Memorial Seawall Repair and others that have repaired existing seawall without destroying the local environment. So I call on this committee to please do what the community is begging you to do and consider other seawall options. If not, please explain, both here and in writing, the entire process of community consultation, and explain how and why they think moving forward with this plan against community interests makes sense. Thank you.
Rosanna Jersey. I apologize if I'm butchering people's names.
Good evening. All human beings are part of the natural world, and when we fail to respect any part of nature, whether tree, flower, or animal, we fail to respect an intimate aspect of ourselves. As residents of this special island, we are lucky to still have a chance. The Southpoint Park shorelines are the little slivers of wild land we have left, our treasure chest, so to speak. Without input from the community, RIOC revealed a plan to extend the east and west sidewalks through the shorelines, paving and cutting down about 360 trees, vegetation, and getting rid of all the green area. And that just to increase visitors' access. Without any input from the community, because the 2017 Holiday and Fitzgerald report indicated in the presentation by Langan Architects is inaccurate, the highest response at that time they received among the many options we had was do nothing. RIOC revealed a plan to pave the Southpoint shorelines by completely eliminating the island's wildlife and native plants habitats for the sole purpose of increased visitors' access. Roosevelt Island already lost a rather sizable amount of its wildlife and green space due to the massive constructions in the last 20 years. Those slivers of land are home to a variety of wildlife, including large mammals, small mammals, marsupials, upland birds, waterfowl, and wetland birds and birds of prey. We are located, for the ones who don't know yet, in the Atlantic flyaway corridor, so-called, and have thousands of migratory birds stopping by every year, twice a year, stopping by and feed, rest, or then deciding to stay. Pollinators and an immense variety of insects. It is an unmolested wildlife habitat, variety of flora and fauna, many open space, and that is why this is not a wise plan. It is unnecessary and short-sighted, as the Southpoint Park has plenty of viewing sites and spacious walking, and all available to visitors and residents. How much more scenery does a visitor or a resident need? This plan is indeed an apocalyptic environmental catastrophe. This devastating plan will deprive residents, visitors, their children, and future generations from having the last place in New York City where to observe wildlife in their wild habitats, instead of going to artificial habitats, recreations, like zoos. I call on this board to please explain why the community was not consulted on this plan, why the necessary repair, restoration of the Southpoint seawall, which we acknowledge, has been changed into a paving, riprapping the shorelines.
Thank you.
Can I adjust 2 lines?
You already have an extra
Okay.
gone on for a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Birdie, Judith Birdie.
Good afternoon. Many years ago when I moved here, I would go down to Southpoint Park before it was closed off and see pheasants and grouse. I'd also see them up at Octagon Park. Really? Wow, a pheasant, a grouse. Wild birds. Not anymore. And I'm really dreading anything to do with this new plan. I don't know what the quote-unquote contamination is, but the entire seawall project must be reconsidered and reworked, and as much as possible done from offshore, and not to just bulldoze away the habitats of many creatures and destroy our environment. I looked around. There's no other wild space on this island. From the lighthouse to FDR, there's no other place that's wild and natural. It's all paved. We spent millions of dollars paving, repairing the seawall. No greenery, nothing, just seawall. There's nothing left that's wild and natural. This is the last inch or few acres of it, and it is time that this be preserved in perpetuity in a park without any consideration of Mr. Halliday's great plans for making it into a tourist site. Thank you.
Marshall.
President Roosevelt, members of the board, and also community residents. My name is Sharon Pope Marshall, Director of Bike New York's Community Outreach and also its membership program. On behalf of Bike New York, thank you very much for the opportunity to support City Bike's expansion to Roosevelt Island.